A highly requested video is to compare wire strippers. We got a bunch of different brands to test today, so let's get the testing underway and see which brand is the best. In the first test, we'll see which wire stripper knives are the sharpest. Then we'll see which brand does the best at removing the insulator. We'll see which brands offer the best screw cutters. At a price of only $6.50, the least expensive wire strippers we'll be testing are made by Mr. Penn. It claims to be a premium wire stripper, 8-inch multifunctional wire tool, ergonomic soft grip handle, made from high carbon steel, sizes 10 through 22 gauge. And the Mr. Penn pliers are extremely stiff. The Mr. Penn brand is made in China. Mr. Penn weighs 6.6 ounces or 189 grams. Let's see which brand does the best at cutting through 12 gauge aluminum. Once the pliers are clamped onto the holder, I'll slide the front piece with the two bolts towards the pliers. The hydraulic press will be applying a downward force to the very end of the handle. And the very affordable Mr. Penn made easy work of the 12 gauge aluminum, making the cut at 41 pounds. At a price of $7, the second least expensive brand we'll be testing is made by Dowell. Built-in wire cutter for copper and aluminum cables from 10 to 22 gauge. The Dowell wire strippers are 7 inches in length. The handle is comfortable and ergonomically designed for optimal force transmission. The Dowell wire strippers are made in China. The Dowell is very light at 4.2 ounces or 119 grams. And the Dowell cutters have a little bit shorter handles than the Mr. Penn brand. And the Dowell needs 52 pounds of force to make the cut, so Mr. Penn holds on to the lead. At a price of $11 is this Kobalt brand. Precision ground hardened cutting blades stay sharp longer. Stripping holes are precision milled for fast, accurate wire stripping. Serrated nose for non-slip wire twisting and pulling. Spring-loaded action for fast and easy cuts. Ergonomic curved handle. Convenient built-in looping holes. Carbon steel construction is hard and durable yet tough. The Kobalt wire strippers are 7 inches in length. The Kobalt wire strippers are made in China. The Kobalt weighs 5.4 ounces or 153 grams. Just like the Dowell, the Kobalt is 7 inches in length. And the Kobalt moves into the lead over Mr. Penn at 35 pounds. Also at $11, the same price as the Kobalt brand, is this Capri Tools wire strippers. Strips 10 to 24 gauge wires. Coiled spring cutting action provides maximum efficiency. Cuts wires with built-in wire cutter. Pull, bend, and shape wires with serrated nose. Cut screws with built-in screw cutter. Ergonomic curved handle, compact and lightweight. The Capri Tools is made in Taiwan. The Capri weighs 5 ounces or 143 grams. And the Capri wire strippers are the same length as the Kobalt. And the Capri Tools made the cut at 34 pounds. At a price of $14 is this Irwin Vice Grip brand. Strips 10 to 22 gauge. Pliers style nose allows wire stripper to pull and loop wire. Bolt cutter cuts bolts to size and leaves perfect lead thread. The Irwin wire strippers are 8 inches in length. Induction hardened cutting edge. The Irwin wire strippers are made in Taiwan. The Irwins weigh 6.2 ounces or 177 grams. And the 8-inch Irwin wire strippers are the same length as the Mr. Penn brand. And the Irwins move into the lead at only 25 pounds. At a price of $15 or just $1 more than the Irwins is this Ideal brand. The Ideal wire strippers are around 6 inches in length. Works with 10 to 20 gauge wire. Built-in wire cutter and looping holes. Convenient plier nose for extra gripping strength. Laser etched wire gauge for easy to read visibility. Knife type blades for accurate easy stripping without nicking insulation. Textured sleeves with extra cushioning for added comfort. The Ideal brand is made in USA. The Ideal is the lightest yet at only 4 ounces or 116 grams. The Ideal brand is the shortest wire strippers in the lineup. And the short handles did not stop the Ideal brand from moving into the lead at a very impressive 24 pounds. Also at a price of $15, the same price as the Ideal brand, is this Craftsman wire stripper. The Craftsman wire strippers are 8 inches in length. Strips and cuts 10 to 22 gauge. Multi-zone bilateral grips for comfort and control. Bolt cutter cuts to size and leaves perfect lead thread. Wire crimper crimps insulated and non-insulated terminals. The Craftsman brand is made in Taiwan. 6.5 ounces or 186 grams for the Craftsman. The Craftsman is 2 inches longer than the Ideal brand. And the Craftsman performed good enough to move into third place at 26 pounds. At a price of $20 is this Klein Tools brand. The Klein Tools pliers are 7 inches in length. Strips 10 to 20 gauge wire. The Klein Tool wire strippers are made in USA. 5.7 ounces or 164 grams for the Klein Tools. Even though the Klein Tools brand is a little bit shorter than the Craftsman, it still performed very well at 25 pounds. At a price of $50, the most expensive brand we'll be testing is made by Knipex. Designed for 10 to 20 gauge wire. The Knipex are 8 inches in length. The #1 choice of tradesmen worldwide. The Knipex brand is made in Germany. And the Knipex are by far the heaviest yet at 10 ounces or 286 grams. And the Knipex wire cutters made easy work of the aluminum wire at 24 pounds. So the Knipex brand moves into a tie with Ideal. The second type of wire strippers we'll be testing are automatic wire strippers. At a price of $12 is this Horusdy brand. Designed for 10 to 22 gauge wire. Alloy steel jaws. Nut for adjusting strength of stripping. The cutter hardness is HRC 48 to 52. Can cut off copper or aluminum. Crimps 10 to 22 gauge insulated terminals. Non-insulated terminals suited for 4 to 22 gauge. The Horusdy brand is made in China. 11.2 ounces or 320 grams for the Horusdy. The design of the Horusdy just doesn't offer as much leverage as most of the other brands. The Horusdy only has one cutting knife, 59 pounds. At a price of $17 is this Neiko brand. Wire stripper with self-adjusting mechanism is ideal for cables 10 to 24 gauge. The Neiko wire strippers are 8 inches in length. Adjustable gauge. The stopper controls the length of the core wire. The Neiko brand is made in China. 11.3 ounces or 321 grams for the Neiko. Just like the Horusdy, the Neiko wire cutters are located behind a pivot point, 60 pounds. At a price of $18 is this Dromild brand. The Dromild wire strippers are 8 inches in length. Alloy steel suited for wires 10 to 24 gauge. You can adjust the stopper for the desired stripping length. The wire cutter can handle both copper and aluminum. Perfect for industrial and daily use. Thermoplastic rubber grips provides maximum leverage. The Dromild brand is made in China. 11.1 ounces or 317 grams for the Dromild. And the Dromild wire cutters needed 64 pounds to make the cut. At a price of $20 is this Irwin brand. Self-adjusting strips wire 10 to 24 gauge. Adjustable stopper controls the length of the core strip. Wire cutter extends versatility. Swivel knob micro-adjusts for gauges smaller than 20. Pro Touch grip helps provide comfort and control. The Irwin Vice Grip brand is made in Taiwan. The self-adjusting Irwins are the heaviest yet at 11.4 ounces or 324 grams. The Irwin self-adjusting cutters performed about the same as the Dromild at 66 pounds. At a price of $42 is this Knipex brand automatic wire strippers. It claims to be a precision-grade performance tool. Adapts automatically to respective cable cross-section. Prevents damage to the conductor. Adjustable stop length from 6 to 18 millimeters. Wire cutter for copper and aluminum wires up to 2.5 millimeters. The Knipex brand is made in Germany. The self-adjusting Knipex are very light at 5.5 ounces or 157 grams. And the Knipex self-adjusting wire cutters made very easy work of the wire at only 24 pounds. So the US-made Ideal brand and both German-made Knipex wire cutters finished in a three-way tie for first place at 24 pounds. Irwin and Klein tools tied at 25 pounds. Up next, let's test the sharpness of the wire strippers using this best certified sharpness tester. The tester came with this chart. A double-edged razor blade is the sharpest between 50 and 75. A utility razor blade is between 150 and 200. New high-end cuttery edges are between 250 and 350. Edges that need maintenance are 400 and up. I'll be using these disposable test clips and we'll replace them between each of the tests. The tester will measure the force it takes to cut through the test media. And the Mr. Penn wire stripper made the cut at 645. Looking at the wire stripper under the microscope, the wire stripper knives are not properly aligned and the 14 gauge wire fits very loosely. The Dowell performed quite a bit better than Mr. Penn at 495 to move into the lead. The wire stripping knives are properly aligned, but there's a lot of slop around the copper wire. And the Kobalt isn't nearly as sharp as the Mr. Penn or the Dowell wire strippers at 1,120. Even though the Kobalt isn't as sharp, the wire stripping knives are properly aligned and the stripping knives provide a much better fit around the copper wire. The stripping knives on the Capri tools aren't as sharp as Mr. Penn and the Dowell at 710. Just like the Kobalt, the cutting knives are properly aligned and the Capri tools offers a pretty tight fit. And the Irwin Vice Grips have the sharpest cutting knives at 355 and take the lead from the Dowell brand. Very good alignment with the cutting knives, and the cutting knives offer a pretty good fit around the copper wire. And the Ideal brand performed well at 425, which is good enough to move into second place behind the Irwin Vice Grips. Very good alignment and nice and close fit around the copper wire. And the Craftsman is the sharpest yet at 340 and moves into the lead over the Irwin brand. The knives are properly aligned, but the Craftsman doesn't offer as snug of a fit around the copper wire compared to the Ideal brand. And the Klein tools perform well at 420, which is good enough to move into third place behind the Ideal brand. The cutting knives are nicely aligned, and the cutter's fit around the copper wire seems to be just as good as the Ideal brand. And the Knipex cutting knives are extremely sharp at 315, which is good enough to take over the lead from the Craftsman brand. Very nice cutting knife alignment, but the cutting knives do offer a little bit more slop around the copper wire compared to the Ideal and the Klein brands. We'll skip the self-adjusting wire strippers for now since their design prevents the use of this sharpness tester. Compared to the regular wire strippers, they just don't have as many options. I'll provide more of a qualitative assessment near the end of the video. So the Knipex cutting knives are the sharpest at 315. The Craftsman finished in second at 340, Irwin 355, Klein tools 420, and Ideal 425. Wire stripper fitment around the copper wire is highly subjective, but the Ideal and the Klein tools seem to have the best fit with the highest possible rating of 1. Kobalt, Capri, Irwin, Craftsman, and Knipex offer a pretty decent fit with a rating of 2. Some of the wire strippers include bolt cutters. So let's test how they perform cutting through a number 8 screw with a 32 thread pitch. Using just one hand, the average person is able to apply a squeezing force of around 110 pounds. And it took 117 pounds to make the cut with Mr. Penn. The Mr. Penn cutters pliers did shorten the bolt, but it did not make a clean cut, so now the bolt will not thread into the nut. Skipping the Dowell brand since they don't have bolt cutters. Even though the Kobalt brand has shorter handles, they needed less pressure than the Mr. Penn brand to make the cut at 110 pounds. Unfortunately, the threads on the screw are damaged and the screw won't thread into the nut. The Capri tools needed 117 pounds or 7 pounds more than the Kobalt to cut through the screw. And the Capri tools made a clean cut and the screw threaded into the nut very easily. And the Irwin vice grips made easy work of the screw at 92 pounds and moves into the lead over the Kobalt brand. The Irwin did thread into the bolt, but it did take more effort than the Capri tools. Skipping the Ideal brand since they don't have bolt cutters. And the Craftsman performed nearly as well as the Irwins at 95 pounds. Just like the Irwin brand, it did take a little bit more effort to thread the Craftsman screw into the nut. The Klein tools performed about the same as the other brands that are 7 inches in length, 117 pounds. Just like the Craftsman, the cut wasn't perfectly clean and it did take some effort to thread the screw into the nut. And the Knipex made very easy work of the bolt at only 89 pounds to move into the lead. And the Knipex made a very clean cut and the screw threaded into the nut very easily. Only 7 of 14 brands have a cutter designed for screws, and the Knipex made the cut with the least amount of force at 89 pounds. Irwin performed nearly as well at 92, Craftsman 95, and Kobalt 110 pounds. Let's test the gripping strength of the pliers using this test jig. After I place a 12 gauge aluminum wire in the jaws of the pliers, I'll adjust a handle clamp bracket spacing to right at 2 inches. Right at 2 inches, the clamps will apply very close to 100 pounds of squeezing force. The 8 inches of length of the Mr. Penn wire strippers really helped it with leverage. And Mr. Penn finally lost grip at 154.8 pounds. And the Dowell wire strippers are an inch shorter than the Mr. Penn brand. And the shorter length and the dull teeth really hurt, 82 pounds. And the Kobalt brand is the same length as the Dowell wire strippers. The teeth on the Kobalt offer a lot more grip, 144.4 pounds. And the Capri tools takes the lead from Mr. Penn at 165.8 pounds. The teeth on the Irwin are very well designed, and the Irwin moves into the lead at 232.4 pounds. Very impressive. The Ideal wire strippers are the shortest in the lineup at around 6 inches. Considering the tool's length, it still performed well at 112.2 pounds. The Craftsman brand is the same length as the Irwin brand, and the Craftsman moves into second place at 184.8 pounds. At 7 inches in length, the Klein tools just couldn't keep up with the 8-inch brands. 119.8 pounds for the Klein tools brand. And the Knipex is 8 inches in length, but the leverage point and the long jaws place the Knipex at a disadvantage. And the Knipex still performed well at 159.6 pounds. So the Irwin brand came out on top at 232.4 pounds. Craftsman finished in second at 184.8, Capri tools 165.8, and Knipex 159.6 pounds. Let's measure the force it takes to remove the insulation from 14 gauge solid copper wire. Once the pliers are on the holder, I'll tighten the vise until the cutters are in a fully closed position. Then I'll place a bracket over the pliers to keep them in position during the test. Before we test the Mr. Penn, let's look at how well the Mr. Penn cuts through insulation under a microscope. And the Mr. Penn left a pretty deep cut, but it didn't cut all the way through the insulation. Let's start with a new piece of wire, beginning with Mr. Penn. And it took 6.4 pounds of force to remove the insulation from the wire. And the wire strippers ripped away the plastic. And the Dowell just didn't do a very good job of making a clean cut. And it took 18.2 pounds of force for the Dowell brand. The Dowell tore away the plastic. The Kobalt cut through part of the plastic. And it took 8.4 pounds for the Kobalt. And the Kobalt wire strippers caused quite a bit of tearing. And the Capri brand is sharper than the Kobalt and seems to have done a little bit better job. And the Capri tools moves into the lead at 5.2 pounds to remove the insulation. The Capri tools left cleaner edges compared to the Kobalt. And the Irwin did a great job. And the Irwin vice grips move into the lead at only 1.6 pounds. Very clean cut with the Irwin brand. Just like the Irwin brand, the Ideal wire strippers did a great job. And the Ideal wire strippers only needed 2 pounds to strip the insulation. Very clean edges with the Ideal brand. And the Craftsman brand didn't do quite as well as the Ideal brand at cutting through the insulation. The Craftsman still performed well at 3.8 pounds. The edges did experience a little bit more tearing than the Ideal. The Klein tools is very sharp and made a nice clean cut. And the Klein tools moves into the lead at only 0.8 pounds. Very impressive. Very clean cut with the Klein tools brand. And the Knipex made a clean cut on one side and cut most of the way through on the other side. And it took the Knipex wire strippers 4 pounds to make the cut. Not as clean of a cut compared to the Klein tools. And the Klein Tools brand came out on top at 0.8 pounds. The Irwin brand finished in second place at 1.6, Ideal 2, Craftsman 3.8, and Knipex 4 pounds. Let's see how the brands perform on some 12-gauge stranded wire. Most of the wire strippers have markings for stranded as well as solid wire. A 12-gauge stranded wire uses the same hole as a 10-gauge solid wire. And the stranded wire took a lot more force to strip for the Mr. Penn brand at 17.6 pounds. And the Dowell strippers perform nearly the same as the Mr. Penn wire strippers at 17 pounds. The Kobalt wire strippers just aren't very sharp, and that seems to have hurt its performance, 18.2 pounds. The Capri tool wire strippers barely edged out the Dowell brand at 16.8 pounds to move into the lead. The Irwin wire strippers performed the best so far at 14.8 pounds to take the lead from Capri tools. The Ideal wire strippers are very sharp and take the lead from the Irwin at 13.4 pounds. The Craftsman wire strippers aren't quite as sharp as the Ideal brand, and they needed 16 pounds to strip the wire. The Klein tools is very sharp and takes the lead from Ideal at 12.6 pounds. The Knipex is the sharpest in the lineup, but the hole size is a little bit too large. 12.8 pounds to move into second place behind Klein tools. So the Klein tools brand came out on top at 12.6 pounds. Knipex did nearly as well at 12.8, Ideal 13.4, and Irwin 14.8 pounds. The Horusdy, Neiko, Dromild, and Irwin self-adjusting pliers have a very similar design. They use two pawls that clamp onto the insulation. Simultaneously, two blades clamp onto the insulation to be stripped away. The wire strippers are adjusted to remove a 1/4-inch section of the insulation. Unfortunately, the wire strippers actually pulled the copper wire through a 2-foot section of wire. After removing the small piece of insulation, you can see a couple of missing strands as well as quite a bit of damage to the other strands. The wire stripper paws left some pretty big indentions in the insulation. The self-adjusting wire strippers do perform better on solid copper wire, but they do need adjusted to set the paw tension just right. Rather than using two flat edges, the Knipex uses two V-shaped blades that capture twice as much insulation surface area compared to the other self-adjusting wire strippers. Unlike the other self-adjusting wire strippers, the Knipex paws are on the insulation throwaway side of the cut, and the Knipex provides a very clean cut without causing damage to the insulation. So which brand is the best? The brand with the best overall performance is the Knipex wire strippers with an average finish of 2.1. However, the Irwin wasn't too far behind with an average finish of 2.3. Considering the price, the Irwin definitely seems like the best value. The Klein tools and the Craftsman also perform very well, and I definitely consider buying those as well. As far as the self-adjusting wire strippers, I'm really impressed with the Knipex brand. They really do an excellent job. All the videos in this channel, including this one, are viewer suggested, so if you have a video idea, I hope you'll take time to leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching, please take care, and I look forward to next time.